We're talking hardball. Ken Griffey's grotesquely swollen jaw. We're talking hardball. Over under on the hot dogs. Talking hardball. Bring your
Live on a Thursday afternoon, at least where I am, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, where Doug Kezirian is in Las Vegas. It is the latest edition of Betting Weekly Hardball, part of the Betting Weekly Studios and the Bet Rivers family. And Doug, the only thing we love more than picking baseball games is picking baseball games that are going on. Always a fun thing to do on a Thursday. How are you today? And what do you got? You got your eyes on a lot of games, I bet, right now already.
Yeah, Scooble in some trouble right out of the gates. Don't see that very often, although he's now at 2 outs, so he hasn't given up a run, but bases are chucked. But yeah, no, it's great. And yesterday got a little too cute with a same game parlay, trying to lower the juice of a game that I won easily, but with the pitcher prop. So, Arthur's no longer behind me. He was supposed to be the good luck charm, Adam, but did
Yeah.
not pay off. So he's probably very thrilled that the things, he didn't want to. It would have been a long season otherwise for him. So I think we're good now.
Yeah, everybody was losing their minds about him yesterday. It was a big part of the show. He did yawn when you brought up Chris Sale, and Chris Sale put the Mets to sleep last night. So I think he did get that right. He was on it.
He's typically a sharp dog player, but he
Yeah.
likes his unders when he tries to wink us. And look, I mean, when he was on Sports Center, he had a very good. He was like 78% or something insane.
Yeah.
So he's no stranger to easy winners. So yeah, I should almost get him a rocking chair instead of a studio chair, just so
Yeah.
he could give us more rocking chair winners.
I like that. All right. There's a lot of games going on right now, so let's jump into the live slate and see what's happening. You just referenced the Tigers and Pirates, one of 3 doubleheaders today because of all the rainouts last night. And you got to take advantage of Tarek Skubal when he gives you an opportunity, and the Pirates failed to do so because he doesn't give you many opportunities. As you mentioned, the Pirates with 1 out, single walk. I mean, how often does Skubal walk back-to-back hitters? The Pirates had the bases loaded, 1 out, but he strikes out Ke'Bryan Hayes and gets Isaiah Kiner-Falefa to pop out. So the Pirates failed to score in the top of the first. Tigers coming to bat. They're minus 455 at the moment. Doug, that was a big missed opportunity for Pittsburgh there.
Yeah, and I liked the Tigers yesterday. Obviously, when there's a rain out and gets bumped to the day, it's no action. So,
Yeah.
And sometimes, and I think we're going to see this in a matchup coming up in a little bit, one of the pitchers is moved to the night game, so it's not the same matchup, even though, that happens. But I always wonder about that. Next time I see a big leaguer or whatever, sometimes in Vegas I cross paths. I sometimes corner Greg Maddux and ask him a bunch of questions. I'm sure his kindness is waning on me, but I do wonder if a guy has a certain sort of routine on game day, then there's rain and he has to get bumped an extra day. What does that do? I think we've talked about it in the past. I think it was Zach Wheeler got bumped once, and then when it matched up against Chris Sale, and there's heavy money on Sale that game. So I wonder if it just disrupts rhythm. Athletes of all sports are creatures of habit. We know about was it George Brett who ate chicken breast? Wade Boggs ate chicken breast, and it just is what it is. And obviously, just like anything, some are more superstitious than others. But I think these are all part of handicapping, right? Like you have to factor that in. No one's robotic. It's not dice. It's not a roulette wheel. There are human beings involved, and you have to consider this and just at least consider it. Doesn't mean you need to change your wager, but it is part of the equation for sure.
Yeah, and let me just correct something I said. I said there were 3 doubleheaders today. There's actually 2. I forgot that the Cubs and Brewers, who were the third game that got rained out yesterday, they are not making up that game today. They're making that one up later in the season. The second game of the Pirates-Tigers, by the way, you got 2 of the best pitchers in baseball, but not against each other. Skubal going in the first game of the doubleheader, and Paul Skeens will go in the second game of the doubleheader. In Detroit, the Tiger starter for game 2 is undecided. All right. And the Tigers, by the way, already have second and third, nobody out in the bottom of the first. So if you were going to bet the Tigers, that the number's got to be jumped. It's actually closed right now because of the Tigers threatening with second and third, nobody out. All right, wild game in Cincinnati. Doug, they're only in the bottom of the fourth inning, and Minnesota leads Cincinnati 9-4. The Twins in this game, already 2 home runs by Byron Buxton. Cody Clemens also hit a homer in this one. And so, wild game, 13 runs already with the Reds batting in the bottom of the fourth.
So the Reds, 4-game win streak, certainly on life support. Buxton, as you mentioned, led up the game with a home run, gone yard again. It is kind of, interesting when things snowball and you see these games get out of hand. It is crazy how just the bullpen will just deteriorate. We might see like 24 runs in this game. It's just one of those situations.
The run line right now is 18.5 at Bet Rivers.
Right.
Which is weird to see.
Just, it happens. I think there was a game with the Red Sox that we had. It was in the 20s. I think it was Wes Reynolds was co-hosting with me, and I forget how it ended up, but it went, like the live total went from 22.5 to 19.5, depending on some outs, key with runners in scoring position in the middle of the game with 1 out versus 2 outs.
Right.
Yankees offense as well. So I'm keeping an eye on a lot of things. I do think there's some interesting storylines. You mentioned the few games we have going on now. I think all are really compelling coming in. I think this entire week's been compelling with storylines and streaks and trends. And the way the games are unfolding make things interesting for sure.
That game now goes to the 5th, Twins Reds. The other games, you got Washington up 2-0 on Colorado in the top of the 5th. The Yankees leading the Angels 4-2 in the top of the 3rd, but the Angels are threatening. 2 on and 2 out. Actually, they just got the final out, so it's 4-2 going to the bottom of the 3rd. And just about to get underway, the Brewers at the Cubs and the Cardinals at the White Sox. The Royals and Rangers will get started at 2:35. And so a lot of day games. There's only a handful of night games today. Anything you like of the games that are, we'll get to the games that are about to start, Brewers, Cubs, Cardinals, White Sox. But of the 4 games currently going on, Doug, is there anything you like, anything you got your eye on those? Yankees, Angels, Pirates, Tigers, Nats, Cardinals, Reds.
I had a feeling the Yankees would maybe cover this sort of run line just because you have Rodon going and the bats at some point. I mean, this Angels, you get Hendricks baffling them and things like that. So that was a little perplexing. But I did like the Yankees run line, to be honest, and it was like $1.55 too. But I the Rockies is super interesting. I didn't want to bet into this. You can't lay it with the Nats, who have lost 11 in a row, but it's part of the equation. Like I said, you have to factor an 11-game win streak, and with the Dodgers on deck for Washington. Fun fact for you, Adam.
Yeah.
Betting fun fact. Coming into the season, there were some props out there. Will a team have a losing streak of over or under 11.5 games? And we are sitting at 11 with the Nats. So big game for those who bet over or under. I know we've laughed about the Rockies despite all their woes. They've only had a losing streak of 8.
That's true.
This is kind of fun. People were keeping an eye on this game for betting reasons along those lines.
And the Nats were up 2-0, but it looks like the Rockies just scored. They had a runner on third, 2 outs. Yeah, a run is in. Looks like an RBI double for Jordan Beck. So it's now 2-1. So the Rockies are not going to let that Nats losing streak end so easily. We'll keep an eye on that. All right, folks, let me tell you something. Make sure you sign up for the newsletter at Betting Weekly Studios for Betting Weekly tips and the entire newsletter, soccer previews, tennis brackets, breakdowns, and a whole lot more. More on that later. Let's get to some of the games that are coming up a little bit later. I mentioned the Brewers and the Cubs. I think we were both leaning towards the Brewers. You talk about sometimes things change after a rain out. The Cubs and Brewers are not playing too. The pitching matchup has stayed the same. It'll be actually, let me make a correction. The pitching matchup has not stayed the same. The Brewers are going with Freddie Peralta instead of the rookie today. Now, obviously, Freddie Peralta is their best pitcher, but I know you liked the Brewers yesterday, or it was a lean for you. What do you make of it now with Freddie Peralta instead of Mizorowski, the kid who was making his second major league start?
Yeah, I wanted the Rook. I wanted Mizorowski.
Yeah,
I was really liking it, actually, the more I thought about it against Tyone and things like that, but not now. I want no part of Peralta. Tyone's been solid, as we discussed yesterday. Again, I just get a little worried about the rain delay thing, and it sounds like the Brewers are at least reflecting my thought process and just not wanting to disrupt things, or at least wanting to keep, um, Peralta on schedule or something like that. So
right.
I just it's a pass. Also, when I'm a little gun shy, I need to have more solid sort of conviction in that regard.
By the way, if you're factoring into any bets with the Cubs Brewers at Wrigley Field, you always want to pay attention to the wind. Not a major factor today. It's light winds, gusts up to 11 miles an hour, which is not big. It's a crosswind. Often at Wrigley, you got it blowing in or out. Today, it's a crosswind going left to right. So we could see some help from the left with left-handed hitters in this game, getting a little boost offensively. So you're going to stay away from this game totally? Nothing in this game at all?
Yeah, I think Peralta, like, pitching props I was looking at, but I never have, like, the right read on his sort of, what I'm gonna get out of him. He's kind of a mixed bag. I've said that, so but over 5.5 strikeouts was something I was looking at least, but ultimately not getting involved.
Yeah, I would stay away. I'm with you on that. He has gone over 5.5 in 3 of 4 starts. The Cubs don't strike out a lot. They're one of the, I believe, the 5 best teams in baseball in terms of least amount of strikeouts. So, meanwhile, the other game going on also in Chicago, first of a doubleheader. Sean Burke pitching for the White Sox, Eric Fetty for the Cardinals. In this one here, the White Sox have dropped 6 straight, and early in the season, I was kind of talking about them as if there's would be a lot better than last year. Again, their starting pitching solid, but the rest of the team stinks. And I don't know that they'll be obviously they'll win more games than they did last year, but they're still going to be a 100-loss team. They stink.
They really do,
Yeah.
and we kinda got a reminder of that when Shane Smith, that one of the pitchers that you mentioned, is pretty solid. He's their ace, I think. I
Yeah.
like him a lot. If he gets touched up, has a bad start, they have no chance.
Right.
So they can only win low-scoring games. Cardinals are probably the right side, but you just never know?
Yeah, I would stay away from this. I don't like the Cardinals very much. Overall, I don't like how they're playing. They got off to a good start, but they haven't played particularly well. I think a lot of their hitters that were doing well early have kind of come back, have cooled off here. And their lineup, to me, going into the season was kind of mediocre at best. And I think that's the way it's settling in at this point as being kind of mediocre. All right, let's get to some games that are not going on right now or not about to start. There are plenty of other games on the docket. Let's talk about the Padres and the Dodgers.
We should update the
Yeah.
all-important game. The Nats have allowed the Rockies to put
Oh,
up a
yes.
2 spot. So we are 2-2 now, and now it's really exciting.
That's it. You're right. The game goes to the 5th inning. It was an RBI single by Mickey Moniak. Goes to the bottom of the 5th. Dodgers-Padres, Doug. We didn't really talk about that game at all yesterday, but the Dodgers and Padres is a 10-10 start in LA tonight. Emmett Sheehan last night, we talked about him making it. We did briefly talk about it at the end of the show, the fact that he was making his first start since the 2023 postseason. He pitched really well. He only went 4 innings because it's first start in a year and a half, but he did a great job for the Dodgers. Tonight they'll have Yamamoto, who obviously has been great all year against Ryan Berger. What are you looking at in this game, Doug?
Well, I kind of forewarned that the Dodgers bats would start to heat up, and they
Yeah.
sort of have. They've won 5 straight, but it's not. I mean, yesterday they won 4-3, so it's like you said, the pitching sometimes have been
Yep.
surprising. But Yamamoto did get touched up in his last game, and it was at home. And I usually Dodger Stadium can lend itself to some favorable pitching situations. I like the Dodgers. I don't love them enough to bet it. You're gonna have. There's always a
Yeah.
tax, especially when they're heating up. I don't want to like this kind of wood 240, although it's come down a little bit. Run line, again, Yamamoto was unhittable to start the year. There was that massive steam on him when he faced the Diamondbacks on the road when it was a back-to-back from Miami to Scottsdale, and then he got touched up, but it was really one bad inning. and then he's been really hot or cold since then. So I think he's overpriced right now. If
Yeah.
anything, it's a Dodgers team total.
Yeah.
Yes, you run the risk of winning Dodgers winning a low scoring game and then you lose that, but could have won the side. But I'd rather have a Dodgers team total. Their bats, like with Will Smith and cranking, like this team is, could start to really get hot.
And even though the Padres have a pretty good bullpen, they'll probably go to the bullpen early because Bergert is he's only got in his 3 starts, he's gone 5, 5 in the third, and 5. So he's not a guy likely to pitch deep into this game, which means he gets more middle reliever action, which can be very dangerous when you're facing this Dodger lineup.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Next game on the docket, the Guardians at the Giants. And how about the Guardians? The other day I was saying on my other show that, man, I just don't like the way the Guardians are going. They're playing terrible baseball. They had fallen to 500, and I think I said they were going to be under 500 come the All-Star break. I still believe that. However, credit to them. They've won 2 in a row against the Giants, even with all the hype of the Devers acquisition. The Guardians have pitched well in this series. Great pitching matchup today. Logan Webb, who's obviously been excellent, is on the hill for the Giants, and Gavin Williams, who at times looks amazing and at times looks very mediocre, will pitch for Cleveland tonight as they try to get the sweep.
Yeah, I think the Giants are the right side. That's my hunch. Not
Yeah.
enough to bet, not running to the window to fire. But I think like you said, the Guardians have been surprising the last couple days. I think behind Logan Webb at home, I think that's the right side. It's just sort of a gut play. But I guess I asked you, like, what do
Yeah.
you expect as a guy who tracks the Guardians from Williams tonight? I think that's the key. The Gavin Williams variables. I think we're going to get a strong performance from Webb. The Guardians lineup doesn't scare me,
Nope.
but I think the Giants are the right side here.
Yeah, I'll give I've been a huge Gavin Williams fan since he was in the minors. There is an extreme amount of talent. He struggles. His struggles are often because he's a nibbler. And when you're as talented and you have as good arm talent as Gavin Williams does, sometimes as a young pitcher, as talented as you are, you nibble because you're trying to get that strikeout. You're trying to get that chase. And instead of saying, hey, I'm going to make this guy hit it because I got a good defense behind me and trusting my stuff, it's like he's always experimenting, and that gets him into trouble. His last start, he only gave up 2 runs, but he only pitched 4 innings against the Mariner lineup that's not very good. And he only had 1 strikeout, which is very out of character for him. So that has me a little concerned. His strikeout numbers are down. His last 4 starts, he only has 15 strikeouts in 4 starts. I mean, this is a guy who, should be averaging and at times has averaged over a strikeout per inning. And now you're looking at, over about 21 innings, he has 15 strikeouts. So I don't like the trend of the last 2 games, but, every 3 or 4 games he goes out there and he looks unhittable. So I would probably stay away from this game. I could be talked into the first 5 under because Gavin Williams in general can get himself out of trouble and not and hold the damage down in terms of runs often, even when he's not pitching great. And obviously, it's not like the Guardians have scored a ton of runs in these 2 games, and the game starts at 4:05 Eastern. 8 runs for them over 2 games is a lot. But I against Logan Webb, I'm expecting him to pitch very well. I could see this game being low scoring, especially early.
Yeah, I got burned on the first 5 under yesterday at under 3.5 in the first 5. It was 2-run shot. It was 3-1, so it went over, and then that was the final score. So I got burned in that regard. In terms of the first 5, it's 3.5 on a total with the 7. So I would and it's plus money on the under at Bet Rivers. So I absolutely, if you like the under here, I would go first 5 under because you don't have the extra innings component. You're getting plus money. All right, I'm going to add it. I see where you're coming from on this, and I liked Webb. I didn't want to lay the $1.80. I'll go under 3.5 plus 0.2. I think that's a strong angle there.
Yeah.
I worry about the Giants bats getting hot and kind of breaking through, if you will. So I'm also going to do Guardians under 2.5 plus 110.
All right.
So
I
I'll do
like
a
that
little
too.
team total for the game, under 2.5 plus one. It's low.
Yeah.
And I need a good performance from Webb, but I think the table will be set. Bullpen will hammer it home.
I like it. 2 plays in this game. Speaking of plays, Doug is 7-3 against the spread in the first 5 games of the NBA Finals. Game 6 is tonight, and coming up in 40 minutes, it's Betting Weekly Fast Break. What's going on there today, Doug? And are you set with what your picks are going to be for tonight's Game 6?
Yeah, we've been seeing the ball well, and I gave that out. I gave a one prop bet on the Tuesday show. And so I think I think we got a couple more plays for tonight. We have professional bettor Chris Massero in the house. He's been strong all NBA season and into this postseason. So we're going to have his insight ahead of potentially the final game of the entire NBA season. With the Halliburton injury, the line's gone from 4.5 to 6.5. So pretty sizable favorite for the Thunder. And you wonder if the Pacers can show up with their all-star guard, hobbled a little bit. But yeah, we have some props ready, and closeout games should always be handicapped differently than a regular game in the playoffs. So I think we'll discuss that as well. But there's actually a 90-1 prop that I kind of like as well.
Ooh.
So we'll talk about all that coming up top of the hour, as you mentioned.
2 WNBA games as well, including Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever, who are a huge road favorite over the Golden State Valkyries, which is a cool name. Kudos to them. That's one of the best names.
Here's something you don't see every day.
Yeah.
It moved a little bit, but the exact
Yeah.
same side and total in 2 games on the docket. So the exact same point spread in total for 2 games.
Oh, that's funny. I wasn't even looking at the spread in the first game, but yeah, I see it. That's interesting. All right, let's get back to the baseball schedule here today. Next game, want to jump on here. The Mets and the Braves, talked about at the beginning of the show. Chris Sale dominating the Mets yesterday. 1 out away from pitching a complete game, something he hasn't done in a long time. It's on MLB Network tonight. The Mets, with their worst stretch of the season, dropped 5 in a row. Clay Holmes, who's been a pleasant surprise for the Mets this year, against Spencer Strider, trying to get back to the Cy Young caliber pitcher he was a few years ago. Are you going to ride this Mets losing streak against a Braves team that had not been playing all that well before this? Or you think the Mets end it?
Yeah, I mean, if I were to do it, it would be this kind of situation, right? I do like the pitching edge. I think Holmes is better than Strider, but I'm not willing to jump on. I mean, losing streaks are scary. I mean, yes, the Yankees, but everyone was betting on the Yanks yesterday, and they didn't do much. They lost, and they've got out of some jams today. But Rodon hasn't been flawless, but the bats have heated up a little bit. Stanton did hit into a double play last inning, but no opinion here. I mean, look, the price is right. Mets are dogs, but they're on the road. There's no reason they can lose. They can't lose this game. So I need more than to come up, bet into a 5-game losing streak than plus 110, or I need a better pitching matchup, so to speak.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So nothing in this one. Let's go through the other games that are going to be in action today that we haven't talked about, and then we'll get back to the games that are in progress. Royals and Rangers, that game's going to start in about 10 minutes. Michael Wacha and Sean Armstrong in that one. By the way, I was so confident in my Bobby Witt over 1.5 hits and 1.5 total bases, and they were both losers. I apologize to the fans. He got 1 hit and 2 walks, but that doesn't do me any good.
No, it does not. And that's okay. I mean, baseball's a grind, as we all know, as a fan, as a bettor. And sometimes the metrics or the angles and the narratives will just completely be on your side, but it doesn't always work out that way. And that's okay. You got to live to fight another day sometimes, but it's a grind. That's the best way I can put it.
Is there anything you like in this game? Obviously, Sean Armstrong is a relief pitcher. It's an opener situation there for Texas. Michael Wacha's been solid for Kansas City. Any lean in that game?
I hate betting on Wacha games. I feel like every time I try to fade him, he burns me.
Yeah.
Every time I bet on him, it's sort of like my Brett Favre betting back in the day. Can't bet on him, can't bet against him. Very different popularity levels, but Wacha's a guy that's just always been a thorn in my side. So He's kind
staying.
of a no-fly zone for me.
All right, that makes sense. I get it. If there's a guy that you just can't find the spot for him, then it makes sense.
And no
Diamondback,
need to play
yeah,
hero ball. No need to play hero ball, right? Like, you just gotta let it go
right,
sometimes.
yeah. You don't have to pick every game, as we say all the time. 3:07 Eastern. Diamondbacks at the Blue Jays. Ryan Nelson against Kevin Gausman. As the Blue Jays have won the first two games of this series. You going to go with the Blue Jays? They've been very good at home. Or Diamondbacks? I don't know. What do we think here? The Blue Jays are minus 165.
Yeah, I mean, this is interesting. I know a sharp guy who bet the over here, and
Okay.
I can see it, but I don't love it. I think Gosman, we've had Albert Nguyen, professional handicapper, on the show a few times, and he's when the Gosman's been pitching, and he's kind of backed him. It's Toronto's like a sneaky decent team. We use that word. It's
Yeah.
you don't think their lineup's as powerful as it once was, but it kind of is. And Gossman's been okay to back, and I think the Diamondbacks have a above average lineup as well. So I can see this number, this game getting away from them. Little afternoon ball north of the border, but not getting involved. I think Gossman's a good enough pitcher where I would actually look to the under. I think this has 5-3 written all over it, 4-2, and maybe some extra inning threatening situations, 2 on, 2 out, kind of that make me nervous enough to not bet on the under. But like I said, I know a sharp guy on the over, so I'm just torn. And when you're wrestling like this and you're wrestling pick for as long as I am, then you just got to walk away. Like, there's no need to bet it.
By the way, I referenced it briefly earlier, but Paul Skeens is going to pitch the second game of the doubleheader for the Pirates and Tigers, and the Tigers are a million times better than the Pirates. But Paul Skeens is so good that the Pirates are a minus 141 in the second game of that doubleheader. If you said to anybody, "Oh, the Pirates are favored over the Tigers," you'd never believe it. But with Paul Skeens pitching, he makes that much of a difference.
Right. Right now, he's the only guy you can consider. Maybe some of their other pitchers here and there, where you've had, maybe you get big plus price, but Skeens has been special for sure.
Phillies, Marlins, 640 Eastern. Christopher Sanchez and Edward Cabrera. Cabrera's been probably the Marlins' best pitcher this year. Doesn't say much, but he's been decent. They're at home where they're bad, but not as bad as they are on the road. Phillies over 500 on the road. Anything in this game, though?
Yeah, I don't want any Cabrera. It would be Phillies or pass. I was very close to pulling the trigger. I mean, they've taken 2 of the first 3. We were on them in the opener when it was minus 115. Abel was pitching, and it was a good look. I thought the price was too cheap, and the bats, gave him a little insurance at the end. But $1.52 feels like the right price. We talked about the straddle, the difference between the 2 money lines. That's the house edge. For you to want to wager on it, it has to be skewed in one way, and you think there's an edge. If I were to bet the Phillies, I would bet the run line, something like that, where you're getting plus money. I would look at +1, plus money at -1.5 runs. I think that's bang for your buck, because this Marlins bullpen, everything about him stinks. So I don't see the Phillies eking out a close win.
The Orioles and the Rays, we got to talk about this because last night the Orioles scored 8 runs in the top of the second in Tampa, and they lost the game 12-8. Biggest comeback of the year by any team. I mean, that's got to be hard to get going the next day when you're already a team having a terrible, disappointing season. You score 8 runs in the top of the second inning and you lose 12-8. I mean, that's crazy.
How about being a better?
Yeah.
You're up 8-0.
my
You're like,
God.
okay, all right, I'm good there. Let's look at some other games. But that is the beauty of baseball. It's usually a money line, so you can always take plus, 900 or something like that. And
Yeah.
when let's say they get a couple runs home, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe I should just take a little protection here, or a cash out option. These are examples where you should, it's evidence that maybe you should
Yeah.
be doing that here and there.
By the way, is there any way to find out now what the number was on the money line when after that half inning, when the Orioles scored those 8 runs and the game was going to the bottom of the second? Like, the Rays were probably plus, I don't know. I mean, what do you think it could have been? Is there any way to find that out?
Um, I I know what you mean, but that's where we
Yeah.
have our internal people behind the scenes, right? That's when we hit them up.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, what would be your guess as to what that could plus 50,000? No, not
No, no,
that
no, no,
much.
no, no.
Yeah.
That'd be the minus, if anything. I would say like 6-1, 5-1. It's
No, for
never as high as you think.
for the Rays to come back, you think it would only be 6-1 at 8-0?
Yeah. Right. The straddle would be
Yeah.
like minus 2,000, minus 2,500. I mean, it's
Okay.
baseball, and
That's
it was
true.
early enough in the game. It wasn't like ninth inning.
That's true.
Um,
Fair.
I mean, a
I got a
team
little
down like
crazy.
4 runs in the ninth is usually like pretty astronomical. So 8
Okay.
runs in the middle of the game is never that high.
All right, that's fair. The Reds, for example, are plus 1,800 right now, down by 5 in the middle of the game.
Okay. So maybe it is a little higher than I thought.
Yeah. The Angels are actually plus 510, down only 2 runs against the Yankees, and there's still plenty of time left in that game.
Top 5, yeah.
Yeah. All right, and one other. But the pitching matchup tonight in that game is Charlie Morton and Drew Rasmussen, who's been pretty good for Tampa. Although his last start was not very good against the Mets. Anything in that game?
No.
Stay away.
Morton's the guy I can't get involved. I mean, you
No.
know, we've talked about it with some of these guys. We had Hendricks the other day. His best days are behind him. What can we expect with Morton? There's not a lot to like, we talked about yesterday and stuff with streaks and pitching matchups. We had a lot of aces going out today. Skubal got bumped too, but we lost Mazeroski, and some of these guys are just kind of gross. And yes, there's math edges here and there,
Yeah.
but I just you gotta measure your sanity too, and measure your car your cardiologist sort of recommendations. Do you really want to be getting involved in some of these pitchers? Now you could counter and just be like, we'll bet the over or team total overs. Yeah. But some of these guys will pull, rabbit out of a hat. So I always like to go to the battle with a very good pitcher who I think is sort of look, he's always there's always a chance of getting touched up like Skubal did, but he got out of the jam in the first. The bats are waking up for the Tigers, so maybe a first 5 minus a half might get there with ease, and you think you think it was never a sweat.
Right.
I'm just not in a rush to bet on some of these guys. You have to really pick your spots or have a really solid angle, and I just don't with some of these guys. A guy like Morton, it's like, come on. Like, do I really
Yeah.
want? I mean, if anything, I'd bet the Rays.
Yeah.
That's the angle. Like the momentum from yesterday's comeback, Morton being as shaky as he is, it'd be Rays. But you have to pay a tax. I know they're the home team and blah blah blah. But Morton's coming off 5 shutout innings, albeit against the Angels. But he's had 2 of the last 3 starts have been shutout outings. Now it's White Sox and Angels versus the Rays, but it's a lot to ask, and you have to bank on Rasmussen pitching well.
Last game to touch on, not a good pitching matchup here. It's the Astros and the Athletics. Colton Gordon for the Astros and Jacob Lopez for the A's. Jacob Lopez has had a interesting season so far. He started the year in the bullpen. He's made 5 starts since late May. His first start against a good Philly team, 1 run, 3 hits, 1 walk, 7 innings, 8 strikeouts. Brilliant. Followed that up with the Blue Jays. He gave up 7 runs in an inning and 2/3. Then he followed against the Twins. He got smoked again, gave up 5 runs in 4 innings, but did strike out 9. Then he bounced back against the Orioles, no runs allowed, but he only went 4 innings. And then in his last start against Kansas City, 6 shutout innings, only 3 hits allowed, and 9 strikeouts. So, will the real Jacob Lopez please stand up? I don't know what he is. I don't trust him at all. Nor do I trust Gordon. To me, this is a stay away. But anything that catches your eye in this game?
100% stay away. I think the Athletics stink. Obviously, the Astros bats woke up late and made Valdez just had a lot of walks last night, but he pitched fine from an ERA standpoint, but the strikeouts weren't there, and that did me under. Honestly, I would bet the over, if anything, if I had to play this game. I just, like you said, Lopez been shaky. 10 feels high, but again, it's that ballpark in Sacramento and just one of those things. So I'm in no rush to get involved in that game. Just a gross game. But late night, if the basketball game's not that fun, then sure, maybe get involved with an over.
All right, let's go recap what's going on right now. Mentioned the Pirates blowing an opportunity in the top of the first against Skubal. Tigers got 1 in this first and 4 in the second. So it's 5-0 Tigers going to the top of the third. At the moment, the Pirates are plus 4,000. You can't bet on the Tigers to win. That's closed right now. But I don't care if it was plus 40,000. I wouldn't bet on the Pirates right now.
I mean, look, strange things happen, but you're right.
Yeah.
Skubal mowed him down in the second, so I think you're right. Once you get to him and he goes back-to-back walks, you got to take advantage.
Yeah, and they couldn't do it. 9-4. That game was 9-4. Minnesota-Cincinnati in the top of the fourth. It's still 9-4. So that 18.5 probably coming down. 9-4 with the Reds batting in the bottom of the sixth. We've got the Rockies and the Nats. Nats trying to avoid a 12-game losing streak. It's 2-2, bottom six. So no additional
Make up the Rockies.
Yeah. They over 500 last 15 games. Yankees lead the Angels 4-2. Yankees batting bottom five. One out, nobody on. The Cardinals in the first game of a doubleheader lead the White Sox 1-0. That game in the top of the second. Also in Chicago, the Cubs have just taken a 2-1 lead on the Brewers. Who else but Pete Crow Armstrong? We were just talking about him before the show. He hits a 2-run homer, his 20th of the year, to give the Cubs a 2-1 lead. Brewers had scored off Tyone in the top of the first. So a good pitching matchup, but it's been all offense in the first inning. 2-1 in that one. And finally, well, that's it. The Royals and Rangers are just about to get going. Well, that's going to do it for us today. And Doug, you're not on the show tomorrow. You're off.
Well, Chris Massero, I mentioned him about coming up in the basketball show, coming up in 24 minutes, but he'll be in. So, mix up the rotation, get some more opinions in the flow of things and good thoughts all around. Baseball's such an aggregation of opinions, but also aggregation of philosophies. And everyone has sort of a different approach and can point out things. And then each day presents options as well. We talk about these in-game like stuff, ways you could play this, ways you can play that. The Angels and Yanks, the bats were cooking. Now things have slowed down a little bit. Can grab an in-game under. So there's always good philosophies and good here. So a diversity of opinions is a phrase that's been mentioned in a variety of spaces. So I think it certainly applies to betting baseball, both pre-flop and then also live betting.
Thanks to Monzo and Z for producing today. Again, Betting Weekly Fast Break coming your way at the top of the hour at 3 o'clock Eastern. For Doug, I'm Adam. We'll see you next time on Betting Weekly Hardball, part of the Bet Rivers family.